Madeleine Orr, the assistant professor for sport management at State University of New York, and she's also founder and co-director of Sport Ecology Group. Along with the Madeleine, we have Dr. Brian McLeod. He's an associate professor of Texas A&M University, Texas, and he's also co-founder of Sport Ecology Group. So we'll be learning a lot about sport ecology and the impact of sport in the environment. So welcome to Madeleine.
Thank you for having us. It's good to be here, and thank you to the organizers of this event, Mr. Rawat, and the folks who are organizing the whole New York City Climate Week. It's a pleasure to be involved. So on behalf of Brian and I and our whole team, we're grateful to be here. It's interesting to hear these stories of what's going on internationally.
Yes.
In regards to sustainability education. We tend to focus a little bit on North America, that's where we are. And then Europe a little bit, but we don't often hear from some of the Eastern countries, and it's really interesting to be a part of this conversation. I'm going to share my screen. We have a bit of a presentation here about who we are and what we do at the Sport Ecology Group. So like Mr. Rawat mentioned, we were established in early 2019. Right off the back of the big intergovernmental panel on climate change report in 2019 that really kind of lit the fire, I think, under a lot of researchers and academics to really look into climate change more. And there are 8 kind of founding members of our team. All are professors at different universities and graduate students across North America. Our mission as an organization is that we study sports and the natural environment, and we are seeking to produce high quality research in sport ecology, catalyze industry academy knowledge exchange, raise public awareness of sport ecology related topics, and create opportunities for students to learn and grow. A majority of our work is focused on higher education. However, we do have some partners and some organizations we've been working with that are more focused on younger age groups. And so that includes Beyond Sport has a sport and science project happening right now. And we've been in conversation with them about what their work is and how we can support that. That includes phys ed-based sustainability learning. So in phys ed class, they're finding ways for students to use phys ed class to do things like a community cleanup. So they go for a run around the community, and on the second lap, they do a community cleanup. So they'll have gloves and a garbage bag, something really interesting, a good way to incorporate physical activity along with environmental awareness. Another example of working with younger groups is we've recently completed a project with Laureus Sport for Good Foundation, which is Nelson Mandela's foundation. And they are working with community sport groups, young kids, and finding ways to incorporate sustainability into that work. And so one of the examples there was they're doing some fun kind of soccer practice activities where after a drill, kids have to answer questions about something sustainable they did. And if they didn't do anything sustainable that day, they have to do the drill again. And so it's just kind of encouraging them to be sustainable in their daily activities. And then they get rewarded for that at soccer practice at the end of the day. The problems that we address with our group are probably familiar to many of you working in the sustainability space, but the basics are that the climate is changing. Science communication is lacking. This is especially true in North America. We face a lot of fake news, kind of different corporate entities and different personalities, especially in our politics, who try to make it political, and that kind of can be problematic in terms of getting a sustainability message across. We also find that scientific data and empirical evidence about climate change and about the environment are not being made available to people. So it can be tough for a teacher or a manager or a coach to find reliable information about what's going on. And then finally, the sports sector, despite being really, really a big deal where we come from, and a big deal in most parts of the world, has not yet fully gotten involved in this yet, and hasn't fully taken advantage of the platform of sport to educate and inspire people on the environmental issues and climate change. And so we see that as an opportunity, and we address these problems through 4 solutions. And I'm going to pass it to Brian to talk through kind of some of our work in each of our pillars.
Thank you, Maddie, and thank you everyone for attending and having us. It's a great honor and a privilege to be able to present here this week and particularly today. So we do approach and try to resolve those problems that Maddie identified through our research and teaching. We are academics, we're researchers and educators at our core. And so to be able to really be able to engage and teach appropriately, it's important for us to have strong research. So it is data-driven and empirically informed educational materials that we can produce, both for our students, and that again is in the higher education aspects, but we are making educational materials available primarily again at the higher education level, but also engaging people that approach us and saying, can you provide teaching materials for this level of education to really be able to communicate those aspects. And in some of our research that we have gone, we've been examining different teaching opportunities that can use sport as a way to draw awareness and experiences with sustainable behaviors like Maddie had mentioned, but also with other opportunities to kind of bring in the impacts that we have on from sport on the natural environment as well. And ways that we can really be able to engage further and to enrich our teaching materials and our research is through working with the industry so that we not only are producing